Happy New Year. Who's hungry? The deli's open. It's the first sandwich shop video of 2025. Hey guys, hope you had a great New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. We're here going to look at some situations for the final weekend of NFL action. Before I get to the sandwich games and trap games for this week, I want to tell you about some situations to be aware of whenever you're handicapping the final week of the season. You're going to hear a lot of people all week talk about teams that are in must-win situations. Remember, guys, just because a team needs to win doesn't mean they're going to win, and more importantly, cover the spread. Every team that is in a must-win situation is going to have an inflated line. Remember that. Also, remember that whenever you are in a must-win situation, it's because you didn't take care of business during the rest of the season that you got to go down to that last week of the season. So be cautious with those plays. You will be laying more points with those teams. And also, there are two different kinds of must-win. There is must-win where you control your own destiny, win and you're in. And there's must-win where you've got to win and then wait and see if you get help from other teams, knocking off the teams that are in front of you. I have found over the years that the inflated lines on the teams that control their own destiny, be careful, especially with those ones, because oftentimes those teams have a tendency to play a little bit tighter because they know all they need to do is win and they don't take as many chances. Whereas the teams that have to rely on help, they go out and do what they can do. And that's only control what they can control. And that's win a game and then wait and see what happens. So that's my advice on those two types of situations. Then another situation you're going to hear a lot is this team should lose for a better draft pick. Guys, I can tell you something, and I do a lot of radio here in Las Vegas. And one of the reasons I do that, people say, why do you spend the time doing radio shows? Because the particular radio shows that I do, one of them in particular, I get to talk to a lot of current and former players on that show, especially the former players. And you know, I always tell you guys about different situations that I look at. What are trap games? What are look-ahead games? How I don't like taking a team first game back home off of a road trip. You know, all of these things were things that I thought of, but I've never played pro sports. So I haven't actually lived it. I can only think about the situation. But when I get to talk to pro athletes, I ask them about those situations. And it helps me put more emphasis on certain situations. And I can tell you one thing that I got from every player that I've ever talked to. I asked them about tanking at the end of a season for a better draft pick. And they have all told me to a man, no player wants to tank. And the reason for that is there's no guarantee that by them losing, it's going to benefit them because they might not be on that roster next year. They are not guaranteed a roster spot. They could be tanking, helping the organization, and ended up being cut or traded. This is a spot where players are playing for themselves. So don't always assume, oh, this team's going to lose because they want to get the draft pick. That's not the case. So that's one of the things I've learned over the years, and I wanted to make you aware of that. Remember, all these different things we tell you, you know, if I give you a winner, that's great. You made one unit. But if I talk you off of a play that you might have been going to make and that play loses, but you don't play it, I saved you even more because instead of winning one unit, you saved 1.1 unit by not betting a loser and losing the juice on top of it. So that's this week's lesson here on the sandwich video. And let's get into the sandwich spots. And as I always do, the first one is the game that I used on Bet On It, my sandwich shop segment there. And that is the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to go against Washington. They've won 4 in a row, including in the last 2 weeks, beating Philadelphia 2 weeks ago. And then last week in an epic Sunday night football game that went to overtime, they beat Atlanta to earn a playoff spot. Coming into the season with a rookie quarterback, yeah, you're always excited about drafting a new quarterback, but nobody thought Washington would be doing what they're have done this year and make the playoffs and have as good of a record as they've had. This is a young team that is looking, just learning how to win. And now they got to play a game that basically doesn't mean anything to them. They're in the playoffs, and they've got the playoffs next week. So this is a spot that is a sandwich spot for them coming off of last week and looking ahead to next week. And yes, I know it's the Cowboys. And yes, everybody gets up for playing the Cowboys no matter what the record is. But I will say this much about Dallas. They haven't quit. It's been a horrible season for them. They didn't make the playoffs. A lot of questions at quarterback. Dak Prescott got hurt again this year. Mike McCarthy is the head coach. But what we've seen from the Cowboys, minus last week where it was all self-inflicted wounds with the turnovers, this team is still trying hard, and I look for them to give Washington a good game here, and I have Dallas winning this one, and that is the first sandwich spot for the week. Take Dallas plus the points here. Also, sandwich spot. Let's take a look at Tennessee in this game here. This is a game, Houston comes in here. Houston's locked into their playoff spot. They're coming off the big game last week against Baltimore. Baltimore, they lost to them in the playoffs last year. That was kind of a statement game for Baltimore, wanting to show that they belong and, gain confidence against the team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year, but they got steamrolled 31-2. Now, you could say, hey, they want to bounce back this week, get some momentum going into the playoffs. What's it do? Why risk getting hurt? I think Houston goes through the motions this week. And as far as Tennessee goes, yeah, it's been a dismal year for them, but it's their final home game. They're going to try. You've got a situation at quarterback where the coach has said that he's probably going to use both quarterbacks this week. And I've got to figure the quarterback situation, Mason Rudolph and Will Levis, these two guys are playing for jobs next year. So you're going to get efforts out of both quarterbacks if they both get into the game. I'm going to go with the home team here in the meaningless game for them. I'm looking for them to try to end on a positive note. I'll take Tennessee and go ahead and lay the small number with them. Tennessee gets the job done at home for our second sandwich game. Now, before we get to sandwich spot number 3, I want to tell you, hey, if you made it to this point of the video, thank you. I appreciate you guys watching. And if you like what you see, do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And if you're not subscribed already, hit the subscribe button. This way you'll never miss a video that I do. And we're working on what we could do possibly moving forward as the football season, the regular season's coming to an end. So the sandwich spots are not going to be there. But I'm looking to still try to do something for you guys to help make you guys betters. And if you want me to try to figure something out for basketball season, drop me a comment. That's how you're going to get it, guys. I got to hear from you in the comments. Let me know if you have some suggestions and things that you want, and I'll see if I can do it. We'll do it. All right. Oh, one last thing. I tell you about a special we got going at WagerTalk. You can pick up 90 days of all-access service, guys. When I sell a play, generally the play sells for $25. If we have a 5% play, it is $35. You can pick up an all-access package and get every single play I have for 90 days. If you buy a 90-day package, we're going to throw in 30 bonus days. That's 120 days, all access, every play I have for $7 a day. Super offer. Just go to my homepage, check it out at WagerTalk.com, and just go to my homepage. You'll be able to see the offer there and get that special deal. And by the way, guys, we are rolling. Since September 24th, we're the #1 handicapper at WagerTalk in Money One. And we're currently on a 22-5 run over the last 13 days. We've picked up like 43 units in that 13-day period. It has just been a fantastic 2024, and we're ready to do the same in 2025. All right, enough about that. Let's get to the next trap game. And I'll tell you what, we've got a trap spot, I feel, here. Chicago and Green Bay. We know Chicago's on that horrendous losing streak. We know the season is just spiraled out of control for them. But Green Bay's coming off that big game last week against Minnesota. That was the big showdown game last Sunday night, and they fell behind early. They made a gallant rally late, but still to come up short. After that game, everything that surrounded that game, playoff positioning and everything else, and where they were at and coming up flat last game, or coming up short, I shouldn't say coming up flat, coming up short in that game, playing this week. They're already in the playoffs. I really don't know what kind of effort you're going to get from Green Bay this week. If you're the coaching staff, you don't want to get the starters hurt. Get them in, get them out, try to shorten the game and be as healthy as possible when you've got to play next week in the playoffs. Chicago is the only way I can look at this game, plus the 10 points. Now, I've seen some 9.5 start to pop up. Only way I play that is if you're getting 10 or more. I think that they try to break this losing streak. It is a division rival. They really can't hurt their playoff positioning. Look at it for Chicago. I should say not their playoff positioning, Chicago, with their draft positioning. And they're not going to be going after a quarterback because they drafted a quarterback last year. So I think Chicago tries to play hard here. Guys are playing for jobs next year. Just like I said at the beginning of the video, nobody wants to tank. So we're going to go ahead and look at Chicago plus the points in this one. And the last one that I think is a trap spot, and I'm also going to point out why you've got to pay attention to the game on Saturday. And I'm looking at the Raiders here. I like the Raiders regardless of what the Chargers do what happens in the Saturday game between Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. And what I'm talking about is if Pittsburgh wins on Saturday, it doesn't mean a thing for the Chargers in this game. They will be locked into their playoff spot. Now, if Pittsburgh loses on Saturday, the Chargers do have an opportunity to better their playoff position. They're either going to be the 5 seed or the 6 seed. Is there a difference? Yeah, it depends. Do you go play Houston or do you go play Baltimore? That's a difference. I get it, but that'll also be factored into the line. And that's the way the line is right now. It's factoring it in that way because Cincinnati's the favorite on Saturday. And Cincinnati needs to win on Saturday over Pittsburgh to keep their playoff hopes alive. I think the Chargers here want to get into this game and get out. They're not going to risk injuries. And if they do have the lead, you know what Harbaugh is going to do in the game. He's going to run the football. He's going to try to shorten the game. He doesn't want to get his key players hurt. And I know the Chargers are coming off that 40-7 pounding last week. We were on the Chargers because it was a great spot for them. Why? I told you, New England was caught in a sandwich spot last week. We talked about it right here. New England played Buffalo the week before and came up short. 14-point underdog, only lose by 3. I tell you all the time, those teams come out flat the following week. And added to that was New England was playing Buffalo again this week. So it was a Buffalo sandwich for New England last week. And the Chargers took advantage of a great spot. The Raiders are playing hard for whatever reason. You've got the quarterback, O'Connell, that is playing for a job. He wants to prove he's the guy that should be the quarterback next year. And you've got a head coach, Antonio Pierce, who was the interim 2 years ago when they fired Josh McDaniels, kept the job this year. A lot of people were disappointed in the season, so he's still trying because he hasn't solidified his spot as the head coach of the Raiders either. I think the line is inflated. I'll take the home underdog Raiders here as I see this one going right down to the wire. 3-point game either way. I got the Raiders winning 20-17. Give me the Raiders going against the Chargers in that trap game situation. That's it for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Drop me a line in the comments section. You know I always stop by, take a look at them, and tell me what your thoughts are. If you want us to try to keep this thing going through basketball and come up with some ideas. I appreciate you guys for all the likes and comments. And Happy New Year once again. We will talk to you soon here on the Marco's Deli, the sandwich shop videos. The deli is open, guys. We will see you next week.